You've probably said at least one of these things this week. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Diamonds are rare. You need 8 glasses of water. They feel like common sense, like something your grandmother would tell you. But the origin of each one isn't science, isn't tradition, isn't wisdom passed down through generations. It's a marketing campaign that worked so well, people forgot it was marketing. And once you see the pattern, you'll start noticing it everywhere. Let's start with the one you've heard the most. Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. This phrase was coined in 1944 by General Foods, the company that made Grape Nuts cereal. They hired a PR agency to run a campaign encouraging Americans to eat a bigger breakfast, specifically their cereal. Before that campaign, Americans commonly ate small breakfasts or skipped the meal entirely. The phrase stuck because it sounded medical. It sounded like a doctor said it. Nobody questioned it because it was repeated in school cafeterias, nutrition classes, and eventually by actual doctors who'd grown up hearing it themselves. The science on breakfast is actually mixed. Multiple studies since the 2000s and 10s have found no significant metabolic advantage to eating breakfast versus skipping it. But the slogan had already become cultural truth. However, at least cereal companies were selling something cheap. The next one involves one of the biggest price markups in retail history. Diamonds are forever, and a diamond is rare and precious. Both of these ideas were manufactured by De Beers, the diamond mining company that controlled roughly 80% of the world's diamond supply for most of the 20th century. In the 1930s, diamond sales were declining. People didn't think of diamonds as essential to engagement. De Beers hired the ad agency N.W. Ayer, which created the cultural expectation that an engagement ring must contain a diamond and should cost 2 months' salary. That 2 months' salary rule? Pure marketing. Made up in the 1980s to increase the average purchase price. Diamonds aren't particularly rare among gemstones. De Beers maintained the illusion of scarcity by stockpiling diamonds and restricting supply. The belief that diamonds hold value is also largely manufactured. Try reselling a diamond. You'll get 20 to 40% of what you paid for it. But diamonds are at least something you can choose not to buy. This next one shaped how entire populations eat. Fat makes you fat, and low fat is healthy. In 1967, the Sugar Research Foundation, now called the Sugar Association, paid 3 Harvard scientists $50,000 in today's money to publish a literature review that downplayed the link between sugar and heart disease, and instead pointed the finger at dietary fat. This wasn't discovered until 2016, when a researcher at UCSF found the documents in an archive. The result of that single-page study shaped U.S. dietary guidelines for decades. The food pyramid put fats at the top, the eat sparingly section. Food manufacturers reformulated products to be low-fat, but replaced the fat with sugar to maintain taste. Americans ate more sugar, obesity rates climbed, and the actual connection between sugar and heart disease was buried for 50 years. And that brings us to something even more brazen, a campaign that literally changed how we think about personal responsibility. Littering is your fault. In the 1950s and 60s, as public concern about litter and waste grew, the beverage and packaging industry created an organization called Keep America Beautiful. Its founding members included Coca-Cola, PepsiCo, Anheuser-Busch, and Philip Morris. The campaign's message was simple. Pollution is caused by individual litterers, not by companies producing billions of disposable containers. The campaign was wildly successful. It shifted the entire conversation away from corporate packaging waste and onto personal behavior. Don't litter became a moral commandment. Meanwhile, container deposit laws that would have made companies responsible for their packaging waste were defeated in state after state, with lobbying funded by the same organizations. The recycling symbol, the little triangle of arrows, created by the plastics industry in 1988 to give consumers the impression that all plastics are recyclable. Most aren't. However, at least the packaging industry was deflecting blame. The next one actively invented a medical condition. You might have halitosis. Before Listerine, bad breath was just bad breath. It wasn't a medical condition. It wasn't something that required a product. In the 1920s, Listerine, which was originally sold as a floor cleaner and surgical antiseptic, rebranded itself as a mouthwash by popularizing the term halitosis, a clinical-sounding word that made ordinary bad breath seem like a diagnosable condition. Their ads featured women being rejected by suitors, employees being passed over for promotions, all because of halitosis. Listerine's revenue went from $115,000 to over $8 million in 7 years. The formula of invent a condition, then sell the cure has been copied by countless companies since. Dandruff shampoo, foot odor sprays, body wash for intimate areas. All of these followed the Listerine playbook. But personal insecurity products are one category. This next one affected an entire country's daily habits. 8 glasses of water a day. There's no rigorous scientific study supporting this specific recommendation. The closest origin is a 1945 report from the U.S. Food and Nutrition Board, which mentioned that adults need about 2.5 liters of water daily, but noted that most of this is already contained in food. Somehow, the second part got dropped, and the bottled water industry was happy to let the simplified version spread. Bottled water companies have spent billions reinforcing the idea that you're chronically dehydrated and that tap water isn't good enough. Your body has a hydration indicator built in. It's called thirst. For most healthy adults, drinking when you're thirsty is sufficient. But that message doesn't sell $3 bottles of filtered tap water. And finally, one that most people have never questioned. Brushing your teeth in circles is the proper technique. This specific brushing method was popularized by toothbrush manufacturers in the mid-20th century, not by dental research. Modern dentistry actually doesn't have a single agreed-upon correct brushing technique. The American Dental Association has endorsed multiple methods over the decades, and current evidence suggests that the most effective technique varies by individual mouth anatomy. But the circles instruction sells more toothbrushes because it creates the impression of a precise, product-dependent technique. Here's the pattern that connects all of these. A company has a product to sell. They fund or create a fact that makes the product seem necessary. The fact gets repeated enough times that it detaches from its source. It enters the culture as common knowledge. And then nobody thinks to trace it back to where it actually started. The next time something feels like everyone knows this, ask yourself, who benefited when everyone learned it? That's usually where the real story is. Anyway, YouTube thinks you'll like the video on screen right now. Click it. And if this one made you rethink something you'd never questioned, subscribe. More of these coming soon.